All right, welcome back to the Humans of Grappling podcast. We are here to connect concepts between life, the universe, and grappling. I'm your host, Mike Lady, and just a reminder, review, like, share. This is, I don't know, just a passion project of mine, and I just want to share knowledge as I kind of come across it, and how I see connections between all the different things that I do. So, so let's just get into it. Today's concept is progressive overload. I've been lifting more consistently over the last month or so. Basically, all of May, I've been super consistent. And I've gone from a 3x5 back squat of 225. I've incrementally 3 squatting workouts a week at least. Gone up 5 pounds each time, and I'm up to my last workout was 270, 3x5. So that's something like 45 pounds, but call it 50 to be even. Like that's a good reminder and a physical lesson that our bodies are designed to super compensate. It's not just meeting the demand of that I'm imposing on it and saying, hey, I'm going to load up this bar just a little bit more each time, but it gets better at it. There are some times where I thought, oh man, I'm going to have to stick with this weight for a while. Like it was a super hard day and it was barely going up. But I haven't failed a lift yet. And I thought, oh man, I'm going to have to like my linear progression, the perfect linear progression is going to run out at some point. I know that. But it hasn't stopped yet. I guess that I've surprised myself because a couple times where I was like, oh fuck, this feels really heavy. I might have to stick with this weight for a week or something. But the next workout after I rest and recover, the next workout, the weight goes up. I'm like, okay, I can keep going. So it just shows, okay. Disclaimer, I've lifted before, and I lifted kind of all through, basically for high school football. Like that's what I got into the gym for. And then I've been on and off consistent. I've been way more consistent with jiu-jitsu than lifting weights, just because I found that whenever I lift weights, I get really, I don't know, ego-centric, and I really focus on the numbers because I'm a engineer type of minded person. And I'm like, oh, I have to, whatever. I get this picture of, oh, well, this is what has to happen in my mind, and this is the completely optimized program or whatever. And then I get discouraged when I can't run, when I can't do a 2-hour long workout because that's just because it's too fucking long. It's too much for me, right? Like I already do a 2-hour jiu-jitsu workout in the mornings, quote unquote workout training session, whatever you want to call it. I don't have another 2 hours in the day. So I kind of been so in the startup culture, it's called a minimum viable product, MVP. So you just put out the least amount of features that you can and then iterate from there. Again, like if you listen to my podcast, you'll hear me say iterate all the time. It's like one of the fundamental things that I think that if I can get that word out there, I guess that maybe that's my my goal, is to make iterate a common term, and not just not just technology, not just startups, but in jiu-jitsu, like you figure things out in iterations. You try a technique one way, it's working on white and blue belts, but as soon as it meets like a purple belt resistance, it falls apart. Okay. And then I have to do something a little bit differently or whatever. Right. So anyways, same thing with my back squats over the last month. Like it's gone up 50 pounds and my working weight has gone up 50 pounds. So I iterated and I kind of, figured out over time, or like, I guess why I've shied away from back squats before is that, my lower back would always get tight and I would, just not enjoy that and like feel really stiff and whatever, sore because I would like destroy myself and whatnot. Right. Like now I'm just stimulating, not trying to annihilate. Right. I'm allowing the rest part for my body to kick in. Right. I think I finally understand at 32, almost 33 years old, 33 in like a week, that rest is a very necessary part of lifting. And I never really understood that, or I never appreciated that as much as I do now. It's taken me a lot of like beating myself up and getting injured and getting sick in particularly. Like I run my body down, is particularly around jiu-jitsu competition time. I just burn the candle at both ends. Like I'm just kind of cramming in all the training that I can, pushing myself hard, and then like my immune system is shot and whatnot. Like it's just not a good thing. So you kind of have to, like, now that it kind of the ADCC trials period has kind of reset. It's like, all right, I've got 2 years. What am I going to do in these 2 years? Well, I can be really consistent with lifting. That's basically the plan, is to because that's where I feel like I got beat in trials. And my one trials match this year was just, I didn't feel as strong as the other guy, and that became a problem. It's not usually a problem in like the training room because like there isn't as many like strong and technical people. Like if I have one, or if I face somebody with one or the other, I usually have the other. But for my toughest opponents, they're going to be strong and technical. It's I have to treat it almost like a strength sport, because strength does matter. That I feel like this is kind of like a normal arc of jiu-jitsu. It's like right around brown belt or whatever upper belts, you go on this. It's technique conquers all, or whatever. Right, for the longest time, that's what we're taught, or that's what we're what you focus on, at least, because that's the major innovation of jiu-jitsu, is that you are using leverage to move people around and to beat them. But over time, if you compete enough for a long time, everybody's technique is kind of the same. Like you kind of reach a somewhat equal level of technique. You just, now it's about who can execute that technique better / has a stronger method, or is just stronger and strong enough to execute the technique. So strong enough to resist the technique, strong enough to execute the technique. So basically my arc is not necessarily powerlifter. Like I don't particularly care about total numbers or anything like that. Like I'm not a powerlifter, and I only really care about working weight, and I'm just doing 3 sets of 5. And that was another thing that I've kind of held myself back on. Is like I've always been interested in I've always been theory crafting. This is the perfect workout program or whatever, but it always ends up being way too long, way too long, and then they're therefore boring, and then therefore I don't do it, right? I've read all kinds of, like, I read bodybuilding.com, tnation.com, like all kinds of like meathead online articles. I've read them all. And then I would read more than I actually lifted. I've probably read about exercise way more than I've actually exercised. So my current approach is that I'm taking at minimum like the 30 minutes before I go to jiu-jitsu. It is my lifting time. Like I am doing very short. I don't even want to say intense, because they're like I'm just progressively overloading things, right? Yeah, it's going to get hard, or it has gotten hard, but it's, I guess, condensed maybe, because I don't know, lifting is boring. It's not as interesting to me as jiu-jitsu, as actually doing jiu-jitsu, because studying for jiu-jitsu is boring to me as well. So enjoyment is like a core value for me, and I have to like kind of enjoy it to do it, right? Because what are we doing here otherwise? So anyways, getting back to super compensation, progressive overload, you can add 5 pounds on a lot of different things over time. And that's the goal. The goal isn't the end number itself. The goal is to always be adding weight onto the bar. And whatever your numbers happen to be, they're going to be that. And maybe this is like the maturing thing for me, is the numbers don't matter. It's just that constant state of progression. And connecting it with life, I guess, is, how many fitness challenges have you seen and have you been tempted to partake in, right? Like 75 hard is the latest iteration of that. Before that, it was P90X. It was whatever. Like, you change your life in 90 days or 100 days or whatever. And it doesn't really work out, right? Because we can't just change on a dime. We have a certain momentum to ourselves, right? We don't just like turn everything off. We don't turn off all of our bad habits on a dime. We don't turn off who we were just a second ago and be a completely different person, though you can. But realistically, we are creatures of habit. There are certain tropes or certain character, like certain stories that hold true throughout time. And I feel like it's because like people are there's a certain amount of human nature involved. Like we want to do as little work as possible, right? We want to do just enough to survive and then kind of live off of that, right? Because we just have basic needs that we want to meet and then do what we want after that. It's very hard to like strive for more, for whatever else, like for being the best at whatever, right? Or maybe that's what your 20s is for, and then your 30s is like, once you start having kids or whatever, you start to kind of like understand. Well, I don't have kids, so I don't really understand what it's like, but seemingly from what I understand from my friends who do have them, you start living for them, right? You start kind of figuring things out and setting life up for them. So anyways, where am I going with this? It's like we have to iterate ourselves. We're not going to just completely rewrite our software. We're not going to rewrite our history. We're not going to completely clear who we've been right away. We can't do that. That's a very unrealistic expectation to put on ourselves. And so same thing for fitness, same thing for business, same thing for life, same thing for relationships, same thing for your hobbies, your family, your whatever. Like, you have to start where you're at and then just change one thing. You can only, I don't know. You want to change I think, like Coach Casey said this morning, something about do one thing well. Like, figure out how to do one thing well at first, and then you can add on to that. So just change one thing. Like, we're not trying to completely overhaul and be like a fitness whatever extreme makeover or whatever, right? Like, that's not how real people do things, right? Everybody has jobs and bills and schedules and like pre-existing commitments or whatever. Like, people who lose all the weight in 90 days or whatever, like they probably didn't have all that much going on, to be honest, right? Like, if we're really honest, like, if they can clear their schedule and do a challenge and make it fit, like make that the top priority of their life for 90 days, they probably didn't have like really like real shit happening, right? Like real life shit. Like, nobody died for them. Nobody like really needed them. No parent was sick. No, they didn't get into a car accident. They didn't, like, nothing bad really happened in those 90 days, right? Like, something that would have really thrown most people off, right? So, and that's why people gain all the weight back, or like why fitness programs, people generally just gain weight over time, just because they get older, their metabolism slow down, and it's very hard to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So, but all we're really trying to do is shift the boat 1 degree at a time. Shift the battle cruiser, the whatever. It may not look like much at first, but it's going to go in a completely different trajectory than it was previously, right? So that's really the goal, and the end goal of fitness or jiu-jitsu or whatever thing you want to change, whatever thing that you want to get better at, is just find that first minimum viable product, the first little change that you can make, and then do it. Like, really figure it out, really incorporate it into your life, and it's just like brushing your teeth or flossing or whatever, right? Like, New Year's resolutions don't stick, right? Because it's too grandiose. You have all these things that you want to change at the same time. I felt like I tricked myself into thinking, oh, I can change all this stuff this year. At like literally the 2023 or 2024, I thought, hey, I could read a bunch and do a podcast and like load up myself with all these things. But really, I've actually made 2 changes this month. I started lifting, and I started like speaking into this microphone more often, right? And posting on social media. Cool. Like, this is a good start. I'll give myself credit for changing my habits in the month of May. It does, like, these weren't crazy. These weren't a major departure from before, but they're just incremental changes that I'm trying to be consistent with. So if you try to just kind of upend your life and completely change everything about it and make it all dramatic or whatnot, it's kind of like trying to walk into a gym off the couch, never having trained before, loading up the bench press with 315 and trying to bench it, right? Like, you're probably going to hurt yourself, like, in the worst case, and then be very disappointed in the best case. So Um, because you have to work your way up to that, right? Like you don't just decide one day, hey, I'm going to be an ADCC trials winner. You don't just step out onto the ADCC trials mat, never having competed ever before at any grappling competition, right? Like the highest level. I mean, highest level open. Like literally anybody can sign up. There's no gatekeeping. There's no points. Like that's the thing I love about ADCC is that there can be people who come out of nowhere, sign up for this thing, beat all the big names, and can go and prove themselves, right? Versus like IBJJF is kind of a racket. You have to go around at all their different like rinky-dink tournaments and earn points and like qualify yourself to go to the world championships, right? At black belt, at least. So, but ADCC, they don't give a fuck. Like the best will figure out how to be at their best for that trials weekend, and there is no like there is some like pre-seeding or whatnot, but like anybody can beat anybody. Like at some point you will run into somebody really tough, and you have to beat them. Like that there's no getting around that. There's going to be killers. It is kind of self-selecting the best of the best. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but like you kind of have to be at a certain level of I'm serious enough about this to go and do this, and go and commit my life for 2 years or something like this. Like I have a goal 2 years from now to go in to trials and win. Like you think about these things, that takes a lot of like thought time and preparation time, and I hate the word discipline, because it's like, I don't know, I just feel like it's abused. I feel like the meaning, it's almost meaningless at this point. It's not, I don't think it's I think it's taken to mean like white knuckling things, but I don't think you should be doing that. I don't think that's good. I don't know. I don't know what the term is. What a better term would be. It's like, find your enjoyment. Like, if you don't feel like setting your life up for a tournament 2 years from now, then don't. like what's the point? Like if you're not thinking about, okay, if I start squatting now, if you're not thinking like me, I guess, all right, I'm going to start lifting now, and then a year or 2 years from now, I'll be at a significantly much higher strength. Okay, then I'll be better for my weight class, right? Like I'll be better set up to impose my technique on the dudes in my weight class, right? If you're not thinking like that, if you're not thinking in 2 year increments about how you can win this tournament in the future, 2 years into the future, then it may not be for you. If you have to kind of drag yourself to, like, yes, I'm dragging myself to like get up early, and I guess today is not a good example of that. I didn't lift before jiu-jitsu today, but I have for basically all the other weekdays this for this whole month. But if you're not willing to do it, if you're not willing to figure it out for yourself, it may not be for you. Like, it may not be the thing that you are, I don't want to say predestined to do, or it's not, it doesn't fit with your skill set, right? It doesn't fit with your motivations, doesn't fit with your skill set. You have to really decide, hey, is this thing really what I want to dedicate my life to and do things for, or should I try something else or do a variety of other things? So, yeah, I guess that's the the I don't know. I don't know if these are like sermons or devotionals or what. I don't want to, for sure, 100% do not want to make this culty or religious or whatever. But I don't know. That's the thought of the day is, what things are you progressively overloading in your life that you're getting better at, that you are making incremental changes to, that are building towards something. Some things that you'll be proud of. Like ultimately, like you have to be happy with yourself. You have to be satisfied with yourself, and the efforts that you gave for the time that you were allotted or the time that you put into the thing, right? Like, I guess to be really honest, I don't know. I'm not expecting myself to put in as much time in jiu-jitsu as somebody who doesn't have a job, a wife, and kids in my future, right? Like that, I'm not there's I see examples of that. I see examples of people who are all in on jiu-jitsu. I'm like, okay, great, but you don't have health insurance. Like you don't have a house. You don't whatever. There's all kinds of other things that I want to do that I'm okay with not being the best at jiu-jitsu. Like I've already chosen that path. I've already, like, when I went to college, basically I chose and didn't drop out of school and didn't like pursue jiu-jitsu to the fullest degree 10 years ago, right? I'm playing a long game. I'm playing a much longer game. For me, I think I can stick around for like competitively for 10 more years. Like, yeah, look at Wagner Rocha or whoever, like older guys who are, of course, they're sauce to the gills. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, and Wagner isn't like the greatest personality or the character or whatever, but see Fight Sports, just Google Fight Sports, and there will be some terrible news articles. But I feel like grappling is there's a lot of longevity that you can have, and that I guess that's what I'm optimizing for, is I can train for as long as I can, and be as healthy as I can. And I'm optimizing for health. And I feel my body feels great. Like, I don't have chronic pain or any, like, I have little strains here and there. But I'm smart about it. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to try to lift through the pain or like try to do a technique that puts me in a bad spot or whatever. Right. I'm trying to go about this whole grappling thing, jiu-jitsu thing, in a much different way. All these people sacrificing their bodies early on in their 20s, they're going to be paying for that into their 30s. Like they will see the results of that fairly soon. Like I like we see it with, I mean, just look around in your local gym. People who have been doing grappling a long time, they're hurting, right? Like or fighting or whatever, right? So, I feel like I can extend this out and be kind of the last one standing, basically. In 10 years, I'll have 5 more shots at 5 different trials or whatever. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't have I guess I've always had a long game because, like, I went to college. I had graduated with a degree. I have a 9 to 5 job. I work remotely for my employer, so my schedule is flexible. That took a while to figure out, to set up, but now I can go train in the mornings and then be flexible with my schedule throughout the day, work, do the work that I need to do, be done, and then hang out with my wife. And I live a very balanced life, and I'm very grateful for that. And I just feel like I wouldn't trade it for all the jiu-jitsu medals in the world, I guess. And that's just my priority. Like, I'm not imposing. Like, if you want to go try to win $10,000 at ADCC Worlds, go right ahead or whatever, right? And now it's interesting with Craig Jones. He just announced his Craig Jones Invitational, and that's $1 million prize. So he's got somebody putting up money for this kind of crazy 32-man bracket deal. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be a very interesting few years in grappling, where I feel like if I can remain healthy enough for 10 years, my skill level will continue to increase, and if I don't have a major time off on the mats, from the mats, then I feel like skill is like compounded continuously, right? Call it this is the financial corner of the podcast, where if you leave money, time in the market beats timing the market, right? In the stock market. So if you buy the whatever VTI ETF, which just buys all the stocks in the stock market, if you buy and hold it over 20 years, you're gonna, I don't know what the number is, double, triple your money, whatever. But if you take it out, put it back in, take it out, put it back in, like if you buy, sell, like, you're not allowing that money to compound. You're not getting the highest highs or the lowest lows, but most of the gains are made in like these really volatile periods of time. And if you just hold through those, you end up making a lot of money. Anyways, same thing with grappling skill. For the longest time, I was a 6-year blue belt, I did not allow my grappling skill to compound because of quote unquote life. I was trying to figure things out. I had a number of different things going on. And ultimately, like, it made me appreciate the opportunity that I have now, to train every day and train in an incredible environment, super supportive environment. My teammates are like my family, like they're my chosen family. I see them every day. I get to, where else do you get to do all this? So I'm living, for sure, top 1% life, like just overall, like financially, yes, like I'm doing pretty well as a software engineer, but I'm not all in on software engineering. I'm not all in on jiu-jitsu. I'm not all in on any particular one thing, but I feel like I have a great balance between all this for me. And I'm continuously trying to improve on that balance every day. Like, I'm trying to do more and be more. But I realize I can't just reinvent myself in one day. I have to, like, I have a certain momentum. I have a certain inertia going one particular direction. And if I want to change it, I have to, like, just course correct a little bit. And in May, it's course corrected pretty well. Like, not just in May, but like over the last couple months, I've been doing this new meal prep service. Shout out Fit Pack Meal Prep. They're fucking great. I've been eating more protein than ever. I've been more consistent with my diet, which is like always been an issue with me. I'm lifting more than ever. I'm like that for sure. Like the more protein meals, like is making the recovery even better. Like for my lifting, my squat has gone up 50 pounds. My working weight with my squat has gone up nearly 50 pounds. So that's amazing. And then I'm working on like this podcast. I'm doing this every day. I'm trying to like improve on my skill of speaking, and collecting my thoughts and sharing them. But I'm also like that just kind of, I'm just trying to give myself credit here and like have gratitude for the small incremental changes that I'm making. I'm also like teaching leg locks, something I've never been good at ever. And I've been leg locking people for the last month and a half, maybe almost 2 months now. And that's, like a new thing, a new skill that I'll need moving forward in grappling, in jiu-jitsu. So yeah, so I'm doing a lot of different things. I'm like improving my life in all these little ways, and I'm also like trying to I want to do different business stuff or whatever. So I'm like, I need to like continue chipping away. All these things are done continuously as a continuously compounding interest thing, rather than I start and then stop, start and stop, start and stop. It's like, okay, I need just need to do it a little bit every day. If it's not important to me or not important enough to me at that point in time, I don't do it. And then I shouldn't be, I don't beat up myself about it. I shouldn't beat up myself about it. I did earlier this year when I kicked off, I want to do all these things, have a crazy schedule or whatever, and then I didn't do it, and then I kind of got sad about it. But I was like, wait a second, like why am I holding myself to such a high standard? Like I need to like start from the ground up and be like, all right, what's my daily life? What's like a small change that I can make, and then continue to do that. So anyways, figure out different aspects to progressively overload your life. Start changing small things, whether that's flossing every day or, I don't know, eating something a little bit healthier, eating more protein, whatever it is, working on a potential business, doing more social media, or like producing for social media, not just consuming it, right? So let's just grow this together, grow in our lives together. Let me know in the Q&A section if you're on Spotify, or let me know in the comments on YouTube what you're working on, what you're progressively overloading in your life. All right, I'll see you guys later.